Hi everyone, my name is Kerry Mussington. I am the founder and director of the Mom Project, but today I'll bring you me. I'm a mother, privileged to be a mother. Don't know how I got through life. Mother's Day is a very difficult day for a lot of people because some people out there are going to be suffering, and some people out there have not had the privilege of becoming a parent. And so that there then becomes another issue for individuals worried about Mother's Day. It's a sad time. It's a joyous time. And there are kids out there that not even been able to reach their parents. The kids want to see their parents and can't see their parents. Why? There are kids out there in care homes. It's strange when you become a grandparent and you want to protect your children and you want to protect your grandchildren after all the traumas that you've been through yourself. So becoming a parent, there is no manual for that. None. Especially when you couldn't even find yourself as a child. When you grow into an adult, you're lost. Some people are lost, still trying to develop or figure out who they are. And here we have children that come on the scene. And that title mother, it's an honor to be a mother. It's a gift to have a child. Looking back now, and I said this to my children today, it's nice to receive a card to mum, from your son. I love you this much. And only if my arms were longer, it's nice to receive a card. But there's times I look back in my life and I felt what a crap mother I've been, or I could have been a better parent had my education and my life not been affected, or I was educated. And this is the thing about us in positions of being a parent. When the children grow, you see them having their own children, and then it's the children you want to protect. You want to protect them against the word I call parent alienation. You want to protect these children and parents from suffering, and to be able to enjoy the fact that they once give birth, to enjoy that, Unfortunately, Mother's Day is not the same anymore for me. When I hear the word Mother's Day, I think, well, we're women every single day. Women. But to be a mum, or to bring siblings, to bring little ones into this world, we have got a duty of care. And this is where I can sit here and go, oh, wow, we had a fantastic Mother's Day. I had a lovely Mother's Day. I did. But I was thinking about other mothers. And I was thinking about those people that are not a mother or have not had children, but wanted children and couldn't. And I was thinking about those mothers out there that have have lost a child to suicide. I was thinking also about those mothers out there that have lost their children to the system. And it's not just the mothers or the fathers that are suffering here, but I'm talking about the mothers. It is the child that suffers. Terrible. So, writing a book to mum for Mother's Day. But when I detail how I made it to be a mother and put what I put my kids through myself, it made me look at them now. I'm proud, for they are educated against such crap and would never put their children through that sort of thing that goes on today, where parents are squabbling amongst parents. To be a mother is to put that child first. To be a mother is to put down the indifferences with exes or etc. or previous partners, so the child can flourish without being torn in the middle. I got this today too. It doesn't matter whether it's what you got this today. It doesn't matter. I got that as well. Michelle Obama wrote a book. I think most of us can write a book out there, but there's no book that tells you how to be a mother or a grandmother. And I think when we turn into a grandmother because of our own dealings and what we've learned, and we become better grandparents than, well, we should, than we were as parents. So when I'm holding my grandchildren, it's an honour and a privilege. There's a piece of me in her, and it's a privilege and an honour. But unfortunately, we don't all see our grandchildren, do we? We don't see them as often as we do. And I think the role that we once had, I'm going to be actually speaking in favour in a second. I've got something to show you. We don't often see our children too much, and as we get older, as much as we want. And I always thought that the parents should be taking the children to come and see their grandparents, but some people have it the other way around. They think that the parents should always keep going over to the house. But I think, when do we get a time off and retire? Anyway, I want to say there's good with the bad, okay, on Mother's Day, and I'm not going to dismiss or hold my tongue. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's lives. I am simply saying that today is awareness for me. Anytime I'm doing a live, I'm doing awareness, and I'm doing it from here. I'm doing it because it's a learned experience that I've lived, and I've seen other people's lives being destroyed, and so I have to bring today some news. So I'm going to give you a screen in the back, and here we go. Oh my gosh, what did I just do wrong? Okay, so this is what I wanted to bring to you today, was this. Can you see this? I know you can see this. This is parent alienation, okay? I'm going to address it right here, because if you haven't put your children through this, thank you so much, all right? So it says in 2018, there were 6,507 suicides registered in the UK. Yeah, that's a lot of people. And the reason why I want to address parent alienation, all right, bear with me as well, is this: addressing parent alienation as a result of physical manipulation of another parent. The families find themselves in difficult situations, and the experience can be intense for... I've lost it. Oh my gosh. The experience can be intense for parents and children. Emotions can make self-harm more likely in children and adults. The process through which a child becomes estranged from a parent. The child's estrangement may manifest in itself fear, disrespect or hostility towards the parent, and may extend to additional relatives. Relationship breakdowns, legal battles over a child can be overwhelming and very traumatic for the parties involved. For mothers who act in this manner, there is a term called malicious mother syndrome. This syndrome describes a medical condition in which one parent initially becomes vengeful towards another during the divorce or breakdown of a relationship. Learning to communicate effectively is key to a good health and well-being. Children that are excluded from their parents are affected mentally and physically through the actions of parent alienation. Parents and children are affected and prevented from both parents and put through traumatic times for one's own gain. Mentally, physically, children and adults are being affected by manipulating behaviour within the community, and in their own homes as well as online. As well as online. So social media and platforms, causing alarm and distress, self-harming, and even suicide. Okay, so my point to that is that the goals are, you have to be able to co-parent. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want people to think about it, that this child is not a possession. Children are not possessions. And we have to make sure that when these children grow up, okay, that they still are feeling some kind of despair when things are not harmonious. So by providing support and etc. Let me stop. By educating people that you have a duty of care as a parent to make sure that that child's not put in the middle. And again, when you've got little children, that's one thing. But if, as an adult, even my own age, it would be horrible if I was to have an argument with the father of my children and put my children through that. So we're not talking about small. We're talking about even I'm a child of somebody else's. And my mother wouldn't want me to go through the rubbish behaviour with child's father or put my child in the middle. And I wouldn't want to have done that to my child because I had it done to me. I was the child in the middle. And through when parents are arguing and they ain't got their home life right, and there's drink, there's drugs, and there's alcohol and all of those things, the children suffer. Now, I wasn't at home my entire life because at a very young age, at a very young age, I was put into care. I was dropped around people's homes, people I didn't even know, left, right, and centre. And I remember a very traumatic time whilst my parents should have been parents to me. I remember, when the kids are off somewhere else, when they're dropping off the kids and you've got people looking after the kids' bed. I remember being put in a fridge with a bar of soap in my mouth. One of those chest freezers. I was placed in one of those chest freezers. Now, if parents had their crap together, these things wouldn't happen to children. Children are a gift. If you are struggling to be a parent and you don't understand that perhaps you don't have patience, perhaps you are irritable, perhaps you just can't get up, because there was times as a mother I couldn't get up in the morning. I didn't realise I was suffering through depression because mental health wasn't talked about the way it is talked about in 2021. I had a friend, which was a next door neighbour, that used to set an alarm and get me up with an alarm. Tried to, but I couldn't do it. Why? Because the night before I was intoxicated with alcohol. I found myself being a bad parent. If I look back, bad parenting. Didn't mean I was a bad mother. It meant I did bad parenting. I taught my children things that perhaps they should never have seen. I put myself in situations that I shouldn't have been in. And that, again, comes under mental health of not educating, understanding how to get out of domestic violence's situation, or mental abuse, or physical abuse, or controlling relationships and manipulation. But we've got a duty of care to our children. All too often, people put their sexual life before they put their children. And love, that word love, we put down the children, don't we? We don't mean to. We just try to build a family from the new boyfriend, etc., etc. And that is the damaging part, because our children are learning different love languages from different people. So can you imagine, you split up with this person, you got with that person, you split up with that person, you got with that person. It is your children that are getting the personalities into their lives. And they'll pick up habits. And then suddenly you'll be like, what's going on with my child? They're not communicating with me anymore. They're wet in the bed. They're doing all of these things. But you've got to look back in your own house. So if you're splitting up with somebody, or you have, I hope that's been done amicably. Because in my past, I've done it amicably, where I'm not putting my child in the middle. Let's have a look. My daughters are my gift, my special gift. Their dad didn't bother. Now, when you see, you say that their dad didn't bother. I don't know your circumstances, my love. I don't know your circumstances, but I have to be honest with you. I can relate as a mother that I was left holding the baby too with one of my children, and their father didn't bother. Did that bother Did I use the word bother? I would say wasn't responsible, or just felt overseas they didn't have a responsibility to be that kind of parent. Perhaps they weren't equipped to be a parent because perhaps of their own upbringing. What was their upbringing like? So we look at the children, the fathers that have had children today. What was their upbringing like? What is the family like? Are they talkative? Can they express everything? Because you'll find that there's a shutdown with some men and women out there when it comes to children. I'll be honest myself. I will go right back to being honest with you guys. When I was 17 years old, I had my child. 17. That is a baby with a baby. Bearing in mind, I didn't really have a childhood because I was in and out of the care and passed around, and the childhood was just sporadic and near here and there, everywhere. You know what I mean? Not the one that I should have had. But there were times when I had my child, I wanted to become a parent. But you see what happens when you have your first grandchild. Sometimes the grandparents can take over because they think, oh, I made a mistake. Let me use your child to put my mistakes right. They won't tell you that. But you do want to put it right through grandchildren. Now I'm a grandmother myself. I don't want to ever put my grandchildren through what I put my own children. And I don't want my children to make the mistakes that I made. And I won't call them mistakes. I will call them unhealthy journey that's made me who I am today now. A better parent and a damn better grandmother. I'm not perfect. I don't want that responsibility of having grandchildren every single weekend. No, I've had my time. I'm still having my time, and all I'm doing is getting more grandchildren brought to me. But I've had my time. So when do you have a bit of time for yourself? So my son today, my youngest, when do you have time? Why don't you go to the other side of the world and have your time now? We're men. That was quite nice to hear. The person, okay, let's have a look. Oh, I think I'll read this one out. The person was cheating. His family was messed up, but coped with it with the help of my mum. My daughters are my gift. Sorry, we go there. Yep. Oh my God, your grandma. Yeah, I am a grandma. Yes, the person was cheating. And that's the thing. Again, when we talk about mothers or fathers, they get new girlfriends or new boyfriends. I will have to say there are some mothers out there that will dictate to the ex and say, I don't want, as long as you're with her, you can't see the kids. Now, take on board the concerns. However, isn't it one-sided when a woman will say you can't? And I'm using the word woman, and I'm not going to say it works both ways, all right? But isn't it funny when someone will say, don't want my child around them, but the next minute they've got a new boyfriend or girlfriend, and they got that new boyfriend or girlfriend around that child, preventing the real father from seeing the actual child because they want to build a family with their newfound boyfriend or girlfriend. And you can't replace these parents. You can't replace a mother, and you can't replace a father. Now, when someone does get step-parent-ish, or sort of new boyfriend or girlfriend, give it a while before you introduce these people into your children's lives. In fact, the kids will tell you exactly what they think of somebody sometimes because they can sense it. They can sense it. Because remember, when you walk out the door and you've got children in the same room as somebody, your new boyfriend or girlfriend, of course they're going to put that act on. Of course they are. Because they're trying to win over the mother or the father. Give it a while. I watched this clip the other day. Step parents or the new girlfriends or the new boyfriends can be absolutely rotten to children. Because jealousy can come into it because of the mothers. So arm yourself with knowledge when it comes to children, really, and what damage we can inflict on them by being overbearing also. And you've got to understand that when your children are past the word of 18 years old, is now their adventure. Of course you don't want them to be damaged. Of course you don't want them to be hurt, because your natural instinct is to protect them. But if you overprotect them, you can hurt them. Sometimes they have to fall to know not to touch that spot again, or fall on the same avenue again, you know what I mean? So just sometimes. So look, I never said that to their dad they cannot see them, but I was so guarded, I stayed single to protect my gals. I like that. You stay single to protect your girls. Could you have had a relationship outside of the house, away from the girls? And I don't know if you could talk to people by a device without bringing them in as well. Was it fair to stay single and deprive yourself from happiness just because of past relationships? Now, I was told that the other day when I was going through a bit of a rough patch of, what do I want to do with my life? Is it a midlife crisis or not? And I realised somebody's given me some wise words. Anne, actually. I'm going to name her. Never good wise words. Look at life. And if each day is the only day you get to build happiness, if you find that in your children, fine. If you find that within yourself, but don't forget you have a life as well. And you shouldn't deprive yourself from love. And there are different definitions of love. But first of all, let's look at the word respect. So what we're looking for is respect, safety, and trust. And I don't think getting to know someone within a year is enough trust. I'm sorry. It's enough. You don't know them. I never said to your dad you cannot see them, and me either. I never said to my child's father, you cannot see them. In fact, in the a few years back, I sent emails or whatever. Hi, I'm looking for a Mr. West, Timothy Don West, yes, who has as a responsibility here in the UK, has got grandchildren now. Perfect platform, isn't it? It does screw the kids' heads. They feel rejected and abandoned and not good enough. And the problem that we have here is that some of these children, they go into school and they're hearing other children, my dad this and my dad that. And these children that don't have their parents around anymore are like, and they can only imagine and wish. And all that does is the only imagine and wish ruins their self-esteem more because they feel rejected. So you hear this good fathers out there that walk away from their children, and mothers out there that walk away from their children. It is an equality world here when two people make children. And so, yes, we do. I've been looking for, you know what I'm going to start doing? Any mothers out there looking for their fathers, yeah, and they've got extended siblings, because this is the problem. When these parents, we have children, we might lose contact with the over the fathers somewhere along the line, especially if they were military men back in the day. So what happens is some of these military men had other children. So you've got children out there, they've got brothers out there. And I know two of these brothers one was called Daniel, and the other one was I can't remember. There's two brothers, and see, my son was asking me, Mum, I want to find them. And all you've got to do is rely on Facebook now. It's all you can do. Facebook or social security number. Yeah. I mean, you can know the past of these people. And then again, it don't just affect the fathers, does it? Because then there's the grandmothers as well that want something to do with these children. I lost contact with the grandmother, and I couldn't find the address again. But I know her name was Rose. You have a grandchild out here waiting to fill in some of those gaps, no animosity. I want what's best for my child, and I think a lot of us, we want what's best for our children. So for me today, as a mother, here's a shout out. If you are listening to this, some of these children, they just want answers. And I remember asking my son, what would you do if you saw or met your dad? And he said to me, I'd punch him in the face. I said, why would you do that? So why would he come close? He said, then I'd ask questions. Because what he was trying to say is then that shows the anger, how angry or deserted and absent. And that's not just going to be my son. That's going to be a lot of other children out there that are feeling this, because I felt it. as a child that was in care, or my father wasn't always there, you know. And then, like I said, it affects everyone. Bringing a child into this world affects grandmothers, aunties, uncles, all of those, because it's a bundle of joy. And we're supposed to nurture and cherish. And unfortunately, people don't take that role too clearly. Let's have a look. Thank you, Donna, my love. Yes, because I was looking after my mum. I needed to be there for her too. She brought me into life. That's right. You know, and that's your mums. They might have been harsh on you, but that's only because they have a little bit of knowledge of, please don't repeat what I've done. So when they say the words, come on, learn to love yourself. How often does your mum or what say, learn to love yourself? Why do you need a man? You know, why? Learn to love yourself. I never grasped that till later on. And I get it. I'm still getting it. Love yourself. Be on your own. Really? Yeah. You know, and it is about self. And it is about appreciating those kids and the grandkids around you and doing your best. It doesn't mean you have to be a fool. There are, you know, it actually annoys me. I have to say this. Thank you. Happy Mother's Mum. As a mum to you, happy Mother's Day. Thank you. As a mum to you, Donna, happy Mother's Day as well. And I want to say that this really annoys me for any grandparent out there. Any grandparent out there, let your children be parents. Don't take over their children. And don't think you're doing them a favor by babysitting every 5 minutes. You're not. It lessens the bond with the child. It lessens the bond with the child. It makes it easier to walk away or keep going out, partying, and all of those things. My mother used to take my child quite frequently, and I really didn't bond with my firstborn very much, because I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't even know who I was. I was hiding my own secrets, wasn't I? So I didn't know. When my mum said, when I had my child, apparently I went, what a thing to say. I don't know. I was on gas and air. I was 17 years old and a baby, holding this small little baby in my arms. £7.1, I think. A small baby in my arms. What am I supposed to do with this thing here? Yes, that's right. What am I supposed to do with this child? Huh? How do I be a mum? My mum hasn't really shown me how to really be a mum. In my mum's life, being a mum in my mum's household meant we were thrown around like rag dolls. Does that make sense? There was arguments, there was fights, there was everything, and I could hear everything. That was like being a mum. That my mum done well. She done really well. She was 14 years old when she got with my father. So she done really well trying to be a parent, but tried to hold us kids together. There was 4 of us. That didn't work out. And this is why I want to say that you can look at someone, you don't know their home life. You don't know how they were brought up, whether they're brought up in a care home. And most of the people brought up in children's homes, should I say. I'm sorry, but it makes it very difficult to bond, or they become overprotective when they become parents. And I think I've been one of those overprotective parents, because I don't want nothing bad to happen to my kids. What happened to me, I don't want that for my kids. I don't want it for my grandchildren. I don't want nothing bad to happen. And so, yeah, you do become overprotective as a grandparent, but you do have to know your boundaries and your place, that you are not the parent now. So you have to know your place. I have taken up your day, some of your time. If you are not a mum and you're apprehensive and you want to be a mum, you know, people are doing motherhood in so many different ways. Just don't lie to your children how they came about, who their father is. I had that one in my head for a while as well, not knowing who my father was. I still have that unanswered question, if I am honest, when a seed was planted. But I have learned to say, hey, it doesn't matter. What matters is how I, as a parent my children. My mother, age 50, found out her father was not her father, which was my grandfather, then I was lied to, right? She was lied to, right? And this is what I'm saying. These lies do come out and they will bite you in the ass if you lie to your children and you don't, if you don't, look, a mother knows she's a mum. She will always know she's a mum. And fathers, right? Fathers, they don't know nothing. They're going to trust you that it's their child. Unless the DNA comes into aphorism. So therefore, mothers, you know your mum. And it doesn't matter what age you are. Doesn't matter what age you are. Even if you had a child and you've lost that child, you were still a mother and still are a mother. And you will one day be reunited in spirit one day. Because I do believe in the afterlife. I do believe that we come back somewhere along the line. I'm not saying come back. Well, I do believe we've been here before with those deja vus. I do believe we might get another opportunity again to one day meet our loved ones, those ones that are passing by. I didn't have the opportunity of saying Happy Mother's Day and hugging my mother today because she's no longer alive. However, if it wasn't for my mother, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have had my grandchildren. So I am grateful to my mother and to her mother too, to all the mothers out there in the world. All you can do is your best. And if you feel that your best is not good enough, go and get some help. Get some parenting classes. Speak to other mothers for your concerns. You're not perfect. No one's perfect. And please, if you are a mother out there that suffers with depression, let's equip yourself with the right tools to overcome and empower yourself to good health and well-being again. Because going to the doctors, is that what you're going to say to your children when they reach depression? Go to the doctor. No, you have to do a lifestyle change. If you are feeling poorly, there has to be a change. And that change is going to have to come from you. So if you want to be a proud mum, give yourself a pat on the back if you have your children by your side today. If you gave up your children because you wanted to protect them from you, most probably, or from society, somewhere along the line, fair play to you too. I'm not saying it's a wrong thing to do or a right thing to do. I'm saying for you, you did what you had to do. And we're talking about Mother's Day. I don't live with regrets anymore because I've passed it. There was a time where, with my first child, I couldn't cope. And I didn't have much patience. As I said, I was carrying too much baggage and I didn't know that. And there was a time where I had said to my mother, take my child or I'm calling the social services. And I was going to call the social services on myself because I didn't trust myself with my child because I was dealing with, at the time, so much. Like I said, I just come out of care, coming out of a children's care home, common pattern. So it's very, I didn't trust myself. I was honest. Mum, I don't trust myself. Will you take my child or I'm going to have to give him to the social service? That's all I knew back then. And my mum luckily took my child for a while. I think I could have been taught better. I think if any mother does take the child, to make sure that there's some interaction, like visits, routine and structure for mothers that are struggling and they're relying upon their own mother to help them with the child. So it's routine and structure, not, I'm going clubbing it every 5 minutes where you look after the child. No, if you need a break, you must still find out how to be a better parent. You've got to, for the love of that child, because that child's going to come back later on. Even if you put them in care, they're going to come back later on and they're going to ask you questions because they need to fill the answers. They need to fill the void, something that's missing. They need those questions answered. So Be fair. Don't be hostile when people ask you questions. Be honest. It is what it is. Lack of education, lack of understanding. It is what it is. And you know, I told you today. I've told you, if be a better parent, and you always have a chance to be a better parent throughout your day, whether it's or not, is pick up your telephone now, send a message, somewhat, something. But you still got to have respect as well. So, boundaries. And I also understand that there are mothers out there that their children won't see them. And if you're one of those children that won't see your parents, or you keep flitting in and out of their life, your parents are human beings as well, just as well as you are. And so stability is key too. And just as much as you want stability, your parents or grandparents want stability as well. So just short and sweet appreciation and respect, really. So happy Mother's Day to all you guys out there. Those people in the spirit world, I can feel saying happy Mother's Day. Yeah, you're always going to be a mum. And I have nothing else to say but protect the children, respect the children, respect the parents, and always leave the door open if you can, if providing there's no criminal activity with children. Try and leave the door open for your children to find those answers that they're looking for, that missing gap, that void. They only know one side of their heritage. Allow them to know both sides of their heritage and their culture. And also understand that if you've got mixed race children also, I have to say, please allow them their culture. Because if you think by stopping, I'm actually, this is true, right? I'm a mixed race woman, diversity. Mum was white, dad was black, right? Okay, so actually, this is actually true. If you take a mixed race child and you keep them in a white community all the time, that mixed race child doesn't learn the other language as such, and can face a lot of stigma by using wrong lingo, wrong language, or being laughed at too for not knowing culture. If you do that, you're not allowing to your child to embrace the natural culture and their heritage, and that and they need to know their heritage. Trust me, they have to know their heritage. It's equally the same for me, knowing about my mother, who was a white woman. At the end of the day, knowing her heritage, what was that life all about, vice versa. You know, my life is a different world. A black world for me is different to the white world. By the way, my grandparents were very posh, and put it this way, just a complete different upbringing. Custard and tea and biscuits and a pantry and all of those things, and a clicking a clock that's ticked on the mantelpiece because they sat in silence. Very different. And where my father's side, where, well, I didn't really, and that's an Antigua, so it's all knowing about culture was important to me. So when my father took me to Antigua, one of the things met a child. Obviously, I was a child, and they said to me, "You Eddie Pickney?" Did you hear what I said? Are you Eddie Pickney? And I didn't know what that word meant. Pickney or Pickney. I didn't know what the word meant, and so here I am, an English gal, not ever seeing colour really for what it really was until I went to my culture. And I embraced it, the carnival, the land, the sea, the fruit of the land. I embraced different foods, really, even how people live by going to the toilet outside in in Antigua. Back then, people had outdoor shacks where they would go toilet outside. Okay, now that was not much different here before they invented the toilet. Only backyard that the toilet would go down into the dirt. So you would go in the shack, just like that program, Something in the Jungle, in it, and you do your business. And there'd be a lot of flies around. And then there was goats, and learning that you would eat the goats. But that's my pet. No, but come get some mutton and some goat soup and things like that. And then crabs and baby chickens, and learning about the land. Chickens. Do you know that I was very, very young and I had to feel for an egg? That means inserting your finger up the chicken to see if there's an egg. But these are the things they teach you in the land. Culture. Now, what did I learn here from my mother's side? I learned from my mother's side what racism was. Yeah, because my granddad, who was supposed to be my granddad, didn't really accept black people, because it wasn't just his fault. It was the way society was, all right? So what did I learn from my grandparents? Trains, war, medals, and postmaster, post office. That's what I learned. What did I learn? Did I learn a trade? Did I learn food? I learned custard, Yorkshire puddings, and beetroot and gooseberries. They were my favourite. I learned that those kind of people had land and there was horses and that they had money. I learned different. I learned hard, easy life to a struggle life. And that's where I learned what culture, the difference of culture. And my mum chose to join my father in their life at a very early age, 14 years old. Yes, she joined my father. And she became a parent. And trying to become a parent in a racist world was very difficult, because my mum was beaten for being with a black man. She was name called for being with a black man. She got into, and my dad did his best, tried to raise children and do his best. But my dad was also raised partially by a white woman too. French. So it's amazing when you look at the culture. It's not black and white. It's about a village raising a child. And every child needs to know its history, its background, and its culture. We crying out loud. If you don't tell your children the way things are nowadays, and I'm going to leave this one with you, one day they may meet up, fall in love, and find out that they're actually screwing their own sibling. That's why it's very important that we teach our children where they come from, who is related and who is not related. Okay? That is the dangers about having all of these children out here and keeping secrets from the children. So I do know at the end of the day, it's important as a parent, most of all, to be honest about your mental health, to be honest about what you think is really, I don't know how I'm unhappy with this and I've got to find another way or whatever, but come up with a plan. If you're unhappy in these relationships and there's children involved, you need to speak to someone and come up with a plan and a safety plan. I know it's difficult when you've got children and you might be in a crappy relationship. I know that. But I also want you to educate their fathers around here about parent alienation. Look it up. Understand it. And if you never heard the word malicious mother syndrome, look it up. It's not for me to give it to you all the time. Malicious mother syndrome. Please, just see if you are that. The fact that if you've got to go and search that, if you have to search that, that means that you know somewhere along the line you may be withholding your children from their natural father. So don't be one of those people. Be the best mum you could possibly be. Be partial. What's in the best interest of these children. And we're not perfect, but we were our name first and foremost. Like my name is Kerry first and foremost. I then became a mother. Okay, but I'm still Kerry. So there's a role and there's not a role. And I think when the kids go to bed, you become your natural self, don't you? Yeah? So we switch on the role and we do the chores and the routine just to get them through as much as we can. and do your best. That's all you can. And if you're struggling, please be good to your friends' children as well. Watch your P's and Q's around your friends' children's, because you play a big influence in those children's lives as well. So again, like I always say, role models. All right. Okay, let's have a look. Thank you for commenting. Hello, Susan. Let's have a look. I wasn't treated good as a child. I'm sorry to hear that. But and we, and I think when we hear that we wasn't treated very good as a child, we can look further into it, and I want you to look further into it. There wasn't much education about raising children, and it was a different era back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It was a very different era, and if you had a child out of wedlock, it was a big stigma, and the mothers paid how. There were mothers that dropped children in a care home or were forced to put their children up for adoption or fostering. They were forced to do that. And that's where I said, be careful you don't take over your children's parenting, because that's what nearly happened to me. The control. So be very careful. You allow these newborn mothers to be mothers the best way that they can and get them help, rather than telling them to give up their children to an adoption. It's not always in the best interest. Not always is it in the best interest to give children up. Of course not, because you don't know what home they're going to. As a child of care myself, like I said, I was put in a chest freezer with a bar of soap. I was locked. You know what? At the end of the day, there's so many traumatic experiences for me as a child. And that's because I wasn't with my parents all the time. And that's why it's important that we recognise that when we have these children, we have to try and raise them. Because they're going to come back, they're going to bite you in the backside, and they're going to tell you about yourself as a parent. You must have heard it before. The children like to put the blame back on you when you want to address something. Well, look about you then. How can you talk? You did this to me. Well, this is the thing, children. This is the thing. We tell you now because we don't want you to make those mistakes that we foresee that you're doing. But of course, some children don't want to listen. So maybe it's not. And then we have to comprehend. It's their journey. But at least you advised. And I think that's what we're supposed to be as parents, just to advise and advise good. And try to be partial and non-judgmental as best as we can. Take care for yourself. And enjoy yourself and treat yourself. Have a nice bath. Forgive them. Forgive your parents if your parents were terrible, or they had flaws, should I say. If your parents had flaws and were not very well equipped to manage children or deal with children, and they had really bad habits and it affected you, forgive them. Because forgiving them, I'm not saying you have to vocally go and forgive them. Just say out aloud to yourself, I forgive them, and move forward. Forgiving them, and actually what it does is it recognises yourself that you're probably doing better parenting than what you had. So just some people are just unforgivable. I'm never going to forgive my mum or my dad. That's because you're going to harbour that crap for a very long time. Then to forgive them is to just forgiving yourself, really, first and foremost. It is what it is. Look into their life, that they were a child with children too, and that they were not probably, I don't know, had their own issues. You should know. Look at your own backyard garden. When you look at your parenthood, you think, oh my God, they told me off about this. What are you like with your kids? I don't know. It's breaking the cycle, innit? To do better, break the cycle, to be there for our children, break the cycle, all the things that we missed out on, to give that to our children. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be better, much better, yeah, and more caring, but honest, and acknowledge our flaws and actually confront those flaws. Because I've sat there and I've spoken to my children. I've told my children that I was abused. I told my children that I was drinking and on drugs. I told my children that I even done stripping at one point. Not that kind of stripping. I'm talking about the stripogram or kissogram. These are shameful things for children, aren't they? For having to hear, your mum was this, your mum was that. My mum did not sell her body for money in that way. I did a stripogram. Am I ashamed of it? You know what made it easy for me? Because when I told my mum and dad this is what I was going to do, read birthday cards out and say happy birthday to you, my mum said to me, you were born naked. You were born naked. It's just a body. And I think my mum took that stance because she didn't with her own body. I think my mum made some very poor choices with her own body. And so the advice to her that she gave me, I think, was relating to men. Men come and go. They will use you for your body. You will end up getting pregnant if you're not careful, and you can go for a hard time. My mum said to me one time, I said, Mum, I met a millionaire. You know what my mum said to me? Sorry, Mum, I know you're listening. She said, put a couple of condoms on and take the money. That's what my mum said. I said, Mum, you know what I've done? I just asked for a sandwich. I don't want nothing else. And I give the man back his card. I wasn't going to sell my body, you see. That's something that I wouldn't do, sell my body sexually. Although I was a kissogram, I saw that as artwork. I didn't see that as degrading. I felt I had the power over men. And I felt it was artwork. It was women that were booking me out for their sons or for their loved ones or the office party. But when I look back at it now, I wish I'd never done any of that, because there are people that perhaps have those birthday photographs, etc. But I was a child and will not be held accountable or discriminated on past events. I simply are educating and using my past to educate other people to think about your actions before you do them, because we're going to answer to these children so badly. And as you can hear, mothers on here already are telling you about their own fathers or vice versa out here. So they're adults and they still carry that scar tissue. Yeah. Let's have a look. My mum was amazing, but wanted her to believe me. We want our parents to believe in the things. And some people, when I hear some people talk about, I've told my mum I was abused, but they didn't believe me. They're not addressed it. They've still got the same people around. And I think believing in your child is the one only thing that you could possibly do. People do not step forward free willingly to give out information that was so private if people are going through that experience. Let's have a look. Does she believe in now? I think it's about you at the end of the day. You know, you've got to believe in you. And it's sad. It is sad. We want to be recognised as hey, big girl. See? You just echoing out all the words, isn't it? My mum's boyfriend was a groomer. He tried to groom me. It was terrible. I reported it too. I am so glad that you reported it. And this is the thing. And when you become a parent, you're going to be extra protective of your own children as well. Do you know what I mean? Because we can spot those signs. We can see the warning signs. Do you know what I say to those mothers out there? When you've got guests around, make sure your children have knickers on. Do you understand? Make sure they've got knickers and pants on. Because trust me, just make sure you do that. You wouldn't hang your bits around in public, would you, when strangers come in the door? So why can't your children have some damn well dignity? You're going to say at the end of the day it's innocent? Tell that to someone's thought process. They get over that. So how, sometimes there are perpetrators out there that will look at these children, that will look at these children and secretly plot or secretly do whatever they've got to do in their head. 2 minutes, they are grooming. I know what it's like to be groomed. I was groomed as a child myself, you know? So I now teach. This is why I do the Mum Project. That's why I do Mind Over Matter, to teach people to spot the signs, to do the awareness, to put down and break the cycle, to protect these children. I wasn't protected. Neither was my mother, really. Neither was my father. So now in 2021, we have all this technology to teach people to recognize the signs. Would you love to come and join me in awareness to recognize those signs? I would love that, please. To do things on awareness to help these parents out there to understand the positions that they sometimes put their children in. So I would like that. Yes, it is disgusting, and the men do that to women, and that women do it to men too, or boys too, or kids too. So it's a fair point that you hear more men doing it, but secretly there are a lot of women out there that actually destroy their children and their babies' lives, and they are absolutely disgusting with torturing children and even selling their own children out to their boyfriend, etc. So these things are disgusting. Yes, I know. But if you look deeper again into that person that's doing that to a child, you're going to look into their background. And their background's going to tell you a very similar story of how they were raised. And this is where we have to break the pattern, because the pattern has come from somewhere. And so I'm glad that I recognize all of this history and all of these things, and I'm talking about these things openly, and because now that means I get to protect my children, and I get to protect my future grandchildren, and I get to tell them very early to recognize the signs. And don't let men or women do this to you. They're never too young to learn those techniques of a no-touch zone. Do you understand? They're never too young. And the thing is, as a parent, you want to know that your children can confide in you, can tell you anything, can be open and honest. And you need to don't just say it at once. Keep coming back maybe year after year or every 6 months to readdress it or something like that. So it's a bit like an update on awareness. That's what you should be doing for your children. Update on awareness. We're going to try and prevent fatalities here by raising awareness. So the more awareness that goes out is the less. If we can save one person from listening to this today, they took something out of this today, and they're going to be a better parent, or they're going to address what's going on in their own home, I don't care. I'm very grateful for offloading my stuff to you guys so you can learn from it and maybe identify that if it's happening at home, change it. Please protect these children, because they're going to grow up like an adult and have 40, 30, 40 years of instability, self-harm, mutilation, rubbish relationships, and then they end up with labels like EUPD or BPD and all of those things. So therefore, these labels have come from trauma, childhood trauma. And then we chuck PSD. Let's combine that PSD, post-traumatic, post-trauma stress. So as a package deal, this is where we try to break that cycle. Okay? So Susan's saying, what about the police officer who attacks women? The police officer that attacked women, that woman, well, that's one individual who wore a uniform and shamed the uniform. Again, the perpetrators left, right and centre that many uniforms and swear down that they will never hurt society. But deep down, there are many people that wear uniforms and do hurt society. And unfortunately, it's not aired out like that because this was dramatic. It was very, very much aired out. But there are police officers and services out there that injure people quite frequently, and it doesn't get on the news. Yes, he's going to be sentenced or deal with them on Monday. And I feel sorry for the family in this terrible tragedy, and who haven't got their daughter. So this must be a very painful day for Sarah Everett's family today on Mother's Day, losing a child. Not just Sarah, all the other parents out there as well, even if they've lost their life, all the other parents out there that have lost children. This is equally hard for them. But I don't want that man to steal the limelight today. Do you understand? The police officer, he has to come off of this page right now, because at the end of the day, this is about Mother's Day. And so, yes, we are disgusted with what he has done and what many other perpetrators out there do to other people. Okay, so it's not just that one person. It is a tragic way that it happened. But even down to Caroline Flack, there's another one. There we go. Her mother will be missing her today and thinking about her child today. I'm thinking about my mother today, who is no longer here either. So, you know what you can do, guys, today? As anyone, even if you don't have a child, toast to those mothers that brought you into this world, because as a solo individual, you can do anything that you want with your life now, all right? You're here. And if it wasn't for them in the first place, good or bad, parenting, you wouldn't be here. So give them thanks anyway. Okay. Any life lost is such heartbreaking. It is. It is. And that's why we have to appreciate and value life and our own lives and have some self-respect and some dignity. Okay. And I am, thank you for your lovely comment, Donna. Thank you. Maybe we'll have that conversation one of these days. But we going to draw this to an end now. And I want you to pamper yourself. Even if it's make yourself a hot chocolate or something, put some marshmallows in it. You might not have done that for a long while. Do something very nice for yourself. If you haven't got a child, it doesn't matter. You're a woman. Do something very nice for yourself. Women have a role, a very important role to play on this earth. And it isn't to be abused for starters, all right? So make sure you don't abuse yourself, and that you pamper yourself and you do something very, very special for yourself. And I'm not talking about have that glass of wine and some bubbles in the bath. Like I said, you don't need to be a mother, you just need to be a woman. Okay? Because you're an auntie as well. You see, all of these things, privileges, it doesn't matter. It's privileges. It's an honour. So just pamper yourself and be good to yourself, all right? I've shared enough detail. If you guys would like any have affected anyone with any of the conversation and you need some support around parenting or want to know more, if you're having difficulty with your children or want to bring the father or mother together to talk about the children, how you could better parent, I will address that. We do have a plan, as you say. Look, I have a whole workshop around parent alienation and what the goals are, what the aims are. If you ever want to join up into that workshop, if you're interested in joining that workshop, just contact me. My name is Kerry Mussington. Send me a message and say, I want to join the workshop, parent alienation or parenting skills. Let's talk about that one. Then I'll put it out there. It's not a hopeless journey, being a parent. It is a privilege and an honour, although I still think it's very hard to comprehend what, even I'm 50, I don't feel 50. I don't feel old when I got my grandchildren. I look at my son and look at my grandchild and I'm like, but I feel very young. Did I make that tall 6'3" or 4 years child? You know, did I? Yeah, I did. And they bring me the parcel of joy, which is my grandchildren now. So the fact that my kids are bringing me my grandchildren says a lot. It's a big statement, because there are children out there that won't ever meet their grandchildren, and I am one of those. I will meet them later. They're my grandchildren. I will say that when children grow up, if you're not seeing your kids now or your grandkids now, there will come a time where their own mothers or fathers could never hold them back, love, and they will come knocking. So when you do meet your these little siblings, even if you're an auntie, these children may come and look for their aunties and uncles as well. Just make sure you've got a good story to say and you're a good role model and you've left some good memories, So I can't say that what aunties and uncles do, what kind of structure they have, whether they see children every single week or not. I think it's just the title to have, but just acknowledge the fact that you've got relations out there, and be kind, be good, and be a good role model. And on that note, guys, go and pamper yourself, like I said. Enjoy yourself, treat yourself, even if it's a bit of music in your ears and stuff like that, or a nice book, and or write yourself a book. And you can get that, just write a book, write your journey, write your children's life, write what it was like to be a mother. I actually, nobody taught me about postnatal depression, and I believe that when I had my child, my second child, I had postnatal depression, and it would make common sense. For I did try to. My child was 3 weeks old, and I didn't want to be here anymore, and he was 3 weeks old, and because I was in America, it was never really addressed like that. So and it's scary because you're dealing with welfare, social services, and they do not play about over there. And so I didn't want to be in a place where I was going to be judged because I was different and I was English and everything else. So I came back with my children and I raised them to this day, all 30-something years of them. And it doesn't get any easier because you deal with their girlfriends and you deal with the new baby, new babies and new loves and stuff like that. Life doesn't get any easier. You're like, I'm happy that they get married because then you can relax and just be the grandparent. So I'm happy when they get married. Or I'm happy when they've got a lovely relationship and it's just done. But one of the things that I will say, that as a mum that didn't know much about parenting, I will say that when I hear my own children say thank you and they come and visit or they still send me a message, I have to say that I must have done something right. And so it's an honour to be a parent. Take care of yourselves. God bless you. And I hope you all heal and do right. And light a candle for the loved ones. All the loved ones. For the children, for the mothers, for the children that are lost, for the children that are in care, for the children that are in the mother's arms, and for the children and the unborn babies. Take care of yourself.